Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Macro Podcast. I'm excited to be joined with my good friend Malcolm Turner. Malcolm, welcome to the call.
Thanks, man. Honored to be here.
Just to give you a little bit of background, Malcolm is a seasoned expert in the commercial lending industry. He's helped investors and business owners secure custom loan solutions, and now he's bringing literally long time, and I'll let him tell you the number, but all kinds of really fantastic experience in different fields of real estate, and for quite a while now, I've been helping folks get custom loan solutions. And so, Malcolm, when it comes to funding and doing finance, you've written, and again, one of the coolest things about Malcolm that he's done, and I literally admire this so much. He actually wrote a book, financing the. What is the exact title? I want to make sure and get it right.
Yeah, financing the unbankable deal.
Financing the unbankable deal, and we're going to deep dive a little bit, Malcolm. But before you did real estate financing, I'd like to give people kind of a background, a little bit about how you ended up where you are. How did you get involved in real estate?
I'm actually on a fluke. I went and got my license back in '89. Except how I met my wife, and we were at a corporate meeting. I worked in one city this was for real estate one, she worked in another, and they had a big corporate meeting because they just hit $1 billion in sales for the first time ever. And at that time, put things in perspective, interest rates in '89 were at 9.75% for FHA fixed rate, and we were selling all the real estate we get our hands on.
Yeah.
Right. So now when people say, "Oh man, rates are killing us," like, yeah,
not really.
They could be higher. I mean, you can still make money, right?
Yeah.
And I went from there, became a financial planner after I left being an agent, and from there went to residential lending, and then in 2007, February of 2007, great time, right? I started Castle Commercial Capital, with my pastor.
Yeah,
I was sitting in his office complaining about my residential lending manager, who wanted me to push people into big option iron mortgages, which were terrible. And I was like, I'm talking to him about doing the right thing, and he's saying to me, "You don't want to make any money." And I was saying to my pastor, "Why is that a badge of dishonor?
Yeah,
doing the right thing should be a badge of honor that we should have as a corporate culture." And he's like, "Well, Malcolm, if you're going to do a mortgage brokerage, what would it look like?" And I says, "First, I do commercial because it's all about the math and returns, right? And I would do it this way. I set up an office. You have to build some relationship with the lenders, but I know how to do that. I would do da 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 da." He said, "Okay, great, let's do it." I was like, "Whoa, I thought we were kidding. I thought you were just talking it out."
No.
He's like, a hypothetical. He's like, "Well, no, I love you like a brother, and I trust you with money, and we should do this thing." And I was like, "Okay, well, here's the thing, and I love you too, like a brother, but you don't know anything about mortgages. So we're not going to be evenly yoked."
Yeah.
Right. He's like, "You know what? You're right. You're right. You're going to have to train me and teach me as much stuff I don't know."
Yeah.
And then sharing the 50%. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to mess up our friendship."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, that's true. That's true." And later on, I would become his deacon.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what our relationship just kept going. And he says, "You know what? You're right. Tell you what, you set it up, train me on what I need to know. We'll work it out, and I'll fund it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. All right." And then just like that, within 2 months, Castle Commercial Capital was born. And we've been financing multifamily, office, SBA stuff. We only do commercial real estate. I don't do any residential lending, so I haven't done a residential loan since 2006. Right?
Yeah.
And then in 2019, we became a lender. I had $1 billion mortgage fund call me and say, "Hey, you got any paper you want to sell?" And I said, "No, I'm a broker. We just do brokerage." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're on the first page of Google when I search commercial loans in Michigan."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing okay." He's like, "You must be doing something right." "Well, you're not a lender." "Nope." "Okay, well, you want to be?" I was like, "Oh, well, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, you you don't have any paper to sell, but we can set you up and we'll buy all that you put out, within certain guidelines and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Within 2-3 months, went through the vetting process, right, to make sure we were, okay.
Yeah.
And we were now being lenders. And so now when someone comes to me with a deal, if I can't finance it in-house as the lender on the mortgage, right, where Castle Commercial Capital is on the mortgage, then I'll take my lender hat off and I'll put my broker hat on. And then I go out to other sources of capital and get it done that way.
Malcolm, it seems like the number one thing that someone with your tremendous experience offers is really a couple things. Number one that comes to mind is speed. Speed can kill in commercial real estate if you need it.
Yes.
And it seems like not only that, when you should go fast and when you should go slow. Can you talk to us a little bit about the choices and when you should take each branch? Because I think there might be some folks that don't really know commercial lending or just getting started. Love to get your insight on okay, you definitely need to go with a bridge lender here, or you should go agency over here, or bank financing. Can you talk a little bit about when you reach that fork in the road and what circumstances usually when you want to take each branch?
Well, when someone comes to me with a deal and says, hey, I'm trying to buy, let's say, a 50-unit multifamily in Pittsburgh, right? And I go, okay, let's talk about it. What's the cash flow look like? What's the condition of the property? And I, in my mind, have some checkpoints I'm going through, right? And so I start with what I believe to be the best financing out there, okay? And then I go to seek to disqualify it, okay? So if the first thing is, okay, do you have it under contract? Yes. Okay, great. When do we have to close? Okay. If they say, well, we got 60 days, that automatically knocks out this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, just on time, right? It's not realistic. And I am not going to promise someone something.
Malcolm, you can get me HUD in 90 days, right?
Exactly. No. I'm not going to promise somebody something and then they can't do it.
Yeah.
And I've had people that are like, if you just tell me this, I can do the deal with you. Right. And I'm like, I can't tell you that because it's not true. There's no way that's going to happen that way.
That's right.
And if this other guy's telling you this and he's saying he's going to make it happen and he's going to close that HUD loan in 30 days, do that. I don't like surprises at the closing table, right? I don't like extensions on PAs.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to, lie to you, right? To me, what served me well is I've guarded my integrity like it's the crown jewels. Because it is.
Yes.
My reputation is everything.
Yep.
And once it takes a hit, and once you get known for certain things, getting that stink off takes forever. And we've seen it in the marketplace, right? With other bad faith actors, right? And so I'm like, I'm never going to be in that. And I'm always stressing that with my own loan officers.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, you're your own man. I respect you, but it's my name on the door, right? We absolutely have to deal with everyone with absolute integrity. That's going to be our superpower because frankly, the knock on a lot of commercial loan brokers and officers, they do lie because there's so much money in the business. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear to get the deal done. I'm like, we're not going to be that guy. The fact that we answer our phones, we return calls within 24 hours, no matter what. We respond to emails, and we deal with integrity with people. It shouldn't be that easy, but that by itself separates us out from 90% of our competition. So when I'm going through and I'm checking off, okay, time-wise, that leaves me this. Okay, what's the occupancy? What's the cash flow look like? What's the debt coverage ratio? Okay, that now takes me down to here, right? Or they may say one thing and say, oh, that one thing alone means all this is gone. This is the only thing that we can do. This is our
the only thing that matters. Yeah. And to that end, it seems like Malcolm, and what dawns on me is you are actually underwriting more like the bank here. Can we talk a little bit about the difference between underwriting like an investor versus underwriting like the bank would?
Well, it's a matter of risk, right? Because when an investor has a project, they have a vision of where they think they can take a property. And most people, it's sunshine and rainbows, right? And the bank is always going to be more conservative.
Yeah.
Because unlike the investor, right, I've seen what a bunch of foreclosures look like. I've seen all these things that tripped up all these other investors, right? You as the investor only know your experience. So if you've never had a foreclosure commercially, right, you can't be prepared for all the bad things that can happen because you haven't lived it yet. It's like be that grizzled veteran in the military that's been shot at and blown up 50,000 and still make it through. And then a rookie says, "Oh, Sergeant, we're just gonna run down there and take the hell." There's a thing called a minefield, son.
Yeah.
We're not just running down anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that? And there's minefields in commercial real estate. And so a banker's thinking about all these various minefields that could go wrong. How's the partnership structured? If these partners have a conflict, how can it be resolved? Who's in charge? Right? Those kinds of, which has nothing to do with ROI. Right? Who's putting in the money? What's their percentage of ownership? And here's the other thing a lot of people are surprised about sometimes. We want you to make a lot of money. If the deal is too skinny, we won't do it. Because if you as an investor feel like I'm making more money, rather the bank is making more money than me, then you're going to start cutting corners. Deferred maintenance ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
The value of our collateral then is going to go down. Okay. Or you'll become an absentee landlord and just let the chips fall where they may. Because what am I doing this for? I'm paying these guys 6%. I'm only making 3%.
Yeah.
What the hell? Right. So we want to have a nice, healthy profit for the investor. So they always have an incentive to do the right thing, to manage the property properly, because we want good financials. Right. And we want them to keep good financials, not there to be funny business later. Right. And in situations where we're doing bridge loans, right, I tell clients, listen, we know the deal has fleas. That's why we're doing a bridge loan to begin with.
Right.
Right. So because if it was a cherry deal that was perfect, I wouldn't have you do a bridge loan. That's where I think it's been overused in the last few years, because they're easy loans to get done and they're less hassle. And a lot of people have inappropriately put themselves in a bad position by getting a bridge loan when they shouldn't. If the deal qualifies for traditional long-term financing, agency, CMBS, that kind of stuff, it should never be in a bridge loan. A bridge loan, by definition, is a temporary, short-term commercial solution to bridge you over to when you qualify for long-term financing. The only time you should do a bridge when you got a quote-unquote cherry deal is when time is my enemy. I gotta leave. This guy's about to go into foreclosure. He's going to lose control of the property in 30 days. So I got to close within 30 days or the deal is off. Or maybe it's December, there's a tax event happening, and if he can't sell it by the 31st, it doesn't matter. He loses that tax advantage, and so he's just going to hold on to it past that point. So if you can't close by that tax deadline, deal's dead. Right? Well, if I'm going to close in 30 days, I'm pretty much going to do a bridge loan.
Yeah.
I don't have time to mess around. Now, we talk about time kills deals. What's the parallel to that, right? Money loves speed, right? So the opposite is true as well, right? So I'm going to go fast. I'm going to get you out of your situation. You're going to make your tax deadline. However, I'm going to need a discount off of full value for moving that quickly.
Yeah.
And you will encounter people who time is more important than money. Especially the more money they have.
Yeah.
The more money they have, time doesn't matter. It's like, why do people have private jets? It's not like these TikTokers so they can ship champagne. The reason they have a private jet is because the
Speed.
time involved
Yes.
of going through the airport, going through customs, going through security, all that. I got time for that. I need to drive on the tarmac, walk on, because that's the first time you take a private flight, you're like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
just literally drive on to the tarmac, like you see in the movies.
Yeah.
Yes, you drive onto the tarmac, you just get on the plane.
Just like that.
Just like that, you're in the air.
Yeah.
And then you land and your limo is there and you walk out and you get in your car and another guy's driving. I remember COVID happened and oh no, this is prior to COVID. And my vehicle was in the shop for something. And I'm only about 10 minutes from my office. Right. And I took an Uber. I was like, I told my wife, don't worry about it. My car's in the shop. Blah, blah. I'm just gonna take an Uber. No big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, it's like $15. I was like, oh my God, my car getting out the shop, I might not drive it. Because being in the car and working and being productive,
Yeah.
I didn't care about traffic. I didn't worry. I was able to be on my phone, talk whatever, the guy's driving. And I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
This is why people have drivers.
Yes.
Right? And I started doing the math, right? And I was like, oh my God, because when you're driving and you're stuck in traffic, there's nothing you can do. You're captive, you're a prisoner. And you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the back, I am paying attention to you, right, Doug? Because I'm trying to help you get your deal done.
Yeah.
When you're getting a deal with a seller, if I want to give them a speed advantage, there should be a premium that comes off that price for that speed happening. And now, will every seller go for it? No. But you know what? I've had deals where sellers took a 20% haircut off of value because we're closing in 3 weeks, not 3 months. Now, that really becomes apparent and realistic. And I know some people are going, man, no one will ever do that. Yeah. Take a seller through a ringer.
Yeah.
For 6 months and don't close. Then get another buyer to come in and let that bank take that guy through the ringer 3 months, 4 months, and then don't close. And then a guy like me shows up with the buyer puts the offer down. They're like, man, this is a lot less. Yeah, but we'll close in 3 weeks. We'll close before those other EMDs go hard. Wow. You'll know one way or the other.
Yeah.
Just like, you know what?
Done.
We make decisions as Americans all the time because it's convenient, not because it's cheap.
Yep.
People pay for convenience all the time. They'll do it in real estate. Yep. Will everyone go for it? No, but you know what? If 1 in 10 deals, or let's just say not deals, 1 in 10 offers, right? Because I'm making offer, and one guy takes, okay, great. I make 10 more offers. This guy took the deal, great. Now I go to refi, and maybe the deal's cherry. Maybe I didn't have to do it. There was no problem. I just used speed to get a discount. But Malcolm, that rate's too high. The points, the fees. Yeah, but you ain't living there. If at 12% interest, you're paying 1% a month, right? There was a deal where the sellers walked away, the buyer walked away the day before closing. The day before, walked away from the deal. Small multifamily. My guy comes in, stayed in touch with the realtor, made an offer, said, hey, I'm going to be 20% less, but I'll close in 3 weeks. Right, Malcolm? Yeah. I'll close in 3 weeks. Okay. We closed in 3 weeks. He got that deal at a 20% discount. No deferred maintenance, great long-term tenants. No reason to do the bridge loan except he wanted the discount for speed. The sellers got their money, went to go off to their grandkids. He got the property, and then we promptly refinanced. Probably, I'll say promptly, it was probably like 2 months, 3 months. We refinanced into long-term, low interest rate financing. Oh, but geez, he had to pay closing fees and costs and stuff all over again. Yeah. So what? He had a 20% discount off value.
Right.
Do you think that was more than closing costs? Come on now.
Come on now.
If you can maximize returns any way necessary,
Yeah.
right? By any means necessary,
Yeah.
Do it. Not even talking about deals where there's a problem, right? We can't compare, like I can't compare my wife's cooking to Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray is not going to come in my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say, hey, how come this is more expensive than a bank loan, right? When I can't get a bank loan because I got a 30% occupancy. I got crappy rents that are 35% under market. Half the leases I have are month to month.
Mm.
I got a ton of deferred maintenance because the seller checked out on this property 5 years ago. Okay, guess what? It's not going to qualify for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, right? It's not there. It's not going to meet that standard. So I'm going to buy it as a dog with fleas. It's not an AKC, right? Pedigree.
It is not.
I'm not paying $3,000 for that dog. I'm going to give you $50,
right?
Maybe, and take the dog off your hands.
Mm.
So I'm going to pay less. Then I'm going to fix all those things, upgrade the tenants, do renovations to the property, get my rents from $800 to $1,200 a month. Get my occupancy to 90%. And now I've, darn near doubled the value of the property. Now I'm going to refi it into long-term, low-rate interest debt. And now the deal makes sense. That I only
and Malcolm, there is a fair chance on that scenario you're going to have a fairly good chunk of change to go buy another property with, perhaps. I'm just putting that out there. Possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one hot tip. Sometimes people get quick to sell or do a 1031 exchange. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's an old joke. A farmer doesn't want all the land. He just wants all the land next to his.
Yeah.
Right? Do it cash out, let's say up to 70% of value. Okay. Now, if you pay full price for that deal, there's no money there. Right? But if you did a value add where maybe you bought it for $1 million, you put another $1 million in renovations into it, and now you moved it from class C to class B. I've taken the income up substantially. Now the value of that property is 2.6. $3 million. Now I do a refi on the deal. I keep those units. Because one of the things that we like to see as lenders, how you'll see those net worth requirements where they'll want your net worth to be comparable to the loan amount?
Yep.
The other thing that we look for that no one really talks about a lot, we like to see comparable units.
Mm.
So if I own 100 units and I want to go buy a 500 unit complex, I might not be as comfortable with that. Now, I'm not saying you can't get it. I'm just saying that's not ideal for me as a lender. Right? But if you get, and everyone has to start somewhere, right? So let's say you got a new investor and they get like a 10 unit building. Okay. They do a small multifamily. They do 10. Then they get another one. Now they got 20. The third property is 20. Now they got 40. Now they buy a 40 unit. Now they got 80. Now they buy 80, right? Grant Cardone talked about that when he got started. He bought a house. His first investment was a single family house. Had two ladies rooming together. They got into an argument, didn't want to live with each other no more, moved out. And he went from 100% occupancy to 100% vacancy. He's like, man, this real estate thing sucks, right? He looked at multifamily and did it that way. I think he said his first property was like a 30 unit, and then he went and bought another 30 unit. Now he had 60. Then the third property was a 60 unit. And now he's got 120. And then he bought 100 unit. Now he's kicking with grease.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't buy like 10 small 10-unit deals. He kept matching the units that he already owned, and he was able to quickly ramp up. So it's not like, oh my God, it's going to take me 5 years to no. Start where you are, and then have a reasonable ramp up from there. Yeah. You know, and that's where, like, you know, meeting the right team, you know, having the right advisors, you know, like a guy like me. What separates a guy like me from a lot of lenders, and I'm not the only guy that does it, but you need someone who has my mindset in this sense. How can I coach you up to do the most successful practices that I see other successful investors doing? Mm-hmm. So you're not just investing based on your experience with this vision that you have in front of you. Here's what other people are doing that are doing it where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. And here's some other financing options, because everyone knows what they've done. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they haven't done. Yeah. That's the fallacy.
Well, and Malcolm, to that end, you saw an opportunity in the marketplace, and to my knowledge, there wasn't another book like it. When did you decide to write a book? And can you talk to us a little bit about what prompted you? Like, you're like, okay, I have to write this book. What was that aha moment?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, in the first chapter of my book, I talk about, well, I'll get these calls where someone will say, hey, I got this 30 unit. I'm trying to do this. Can you help me? Hey, I got this situation. It's only 25% occupancy, but I think it's got great potential. Can you help me? Right. And I'm never the first call anyone makes. Never happen. It's always my competition. It's not Chase. It's not Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. It's not another private money lender. It's the status quo. Mm-hmm. However they did their last deal, that's my competition. Mm. And whatever that method is, they went there first, because people do what's comfortable. Even though it may not be efficient, it's comfortable, it's what they know. Mm-hmm. Well, then it doesn't work for this new deal. And now, okay, my bank doesn't do it. So I go to this other bank, they don't do it. I go to another bank, they don't do it. And they're like, man, I know deals like this are getting done. The problem is you're going to the same bank, but you don't know it, right? You know, there used to be this old show on TV called Columbo. It was a private detective. Mm-hmm. Peter Falk played him, right? Yeah. And it was always follow the money. Yeah. Who killed this guy? Whoever was making the most money and profiting off his death is usually the guy that did it. Yeah. Right? It's like that with lenders. Where are they getting their money from? When you have lenders that are funded differently, now you get into different lending criteria. And that's how you build flexibility as to how you get a deal done. It's not a what, it's a who. Mm-hmm. Who do I match it to? Right? And so that's where someone can come in and look at the deal and say, hey, you know what? Based on these parameters and what you're trying to do, this is the best type of funder that you need. Mm-hmm. And then that's where experience comes in, right?
Yeah, and Malcolm, when you were writing the book, and you said something interesting, I'd like to follow up. It wasn't the book you intended to write. How did you, like, as you started, you're like, well, wait a minute, it really needs to be more about X. And how did you end up with that process?
I had a textbook. I had a textbook in mind, right? And what happened was I said, okay, you know, given again, you know, I'm not Chase Bank. Yeah. So how do I separate myself from the marketplace? Write a book. Mm. Obvious. Everybody wants to write a book. Everybody has said at one point in time, you know, I know some stuff more than average bear. I should probably write a book. And no one does it. Right. And I went, and because of the fact that I'm not their first call, I had a tendency to do hard deals because, frankly, Doug, if it was easy, they wouldn't have called me. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? So when these people ran short of their other options, then they said, well, let me take a chance of calling this guy who I don't know. Mm. So I've had more bridge loan experience doing hard deals than the average bear, right? And when I went to Amazon, this was last year, and I did a search for commercial bridge loans for fun and giggles. Mm-hmm. No intent, just fun and giggles. What's out there? Nothing. There isn't one book on the millions of books for sale that's dedicated solely to that bridge loan strategy. Now, there's books on commercial finance and commercial lending, and they may have a chapter. More than likely, though, my experience has been like 3 paragraphs on bridge loans, right? And that's it, right? So I was like, wow, okay, I got to write the book now because here's a glaring hole in the marketplace of information, and I'm again, we're not talking, this is not a book on fixing and flipping single family houses, right? So when you talk about commercial bridge, there's nothing there. There's a ton of stuff on flipping, right? And all that kind of stuff. But on this type of crickets.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And I got a publisher, consultant, as I like to call him, and he doesn't know squat about commercial lending, but what he understood is, how do you write a book that the reader will be transformed from reading? What epiphanies do you need to take them through? The book that I had intended to write originally would have had no epiphanies. It was simply, here's LTV, here's cap rate,
right?
Here's, what I'm saying? It's like a glossary of terms almost.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, that's not how you do it. So, and with anyone in our position, I'll give you the quick nuts version of how to write a really great book. Think about your best client. Envision in your mind your market and what are the problems that are unique to that market? What are the pain points that are unique to people trying to do, whatever it is they're trying to accomplish? What are the advantages of that market, right? Once you really get in there and understand how it works, okay, now start from there and speak to that person. So one of the things you find when you're reading my book, Financing Unbankable Deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, guys, got a special, I was able to convince Malcom to do something special for you. He is going to give a number, and I don't know what that number is yet. We didn't settle. I don't think we've settled that negotiation, but he's going to give a limited number of, his time is valuable, guys, so he can't do this for everyone. But he does have some consultations available for folks that are really interested in this space. I have got to tell you, I really think the mindset shift that Malcom offers is it's not, you don't just, it's just not just something you just come across. It's from the years of experience of in the trenches, and Malcolm's going to just drop some knowledge on you for 30 minutes. And not just the time, it's the mindset shift. And I think that's maybe the most valuable thing that is pretty priceless of having someone with your experience, Malcom, on their team. And thank you, Malcom, for agreeing to do those consultations.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things I write in the book is, if your commercial loan officer or commercial loan broker, or which way you define that relationship, if they won't take the time to review a deal with you and go over your options and what you could do with certain deals before you get it under contract, you need to find another guy. Right? Because you'll be a much more effective investor when you walk into the negotiations knowing how we're going to do the deal.
Right.
I had a deal, it was a $50 million apartment building in Detroit we're working on, and that my investor was out of Atlanta. Really sharp guy. And we're on the phone, our realtor, our commercial realtor, Devon Jackson with PA Commercial, I'll give a little plug for him, right? My investor and me, and we're on with these unnamed commercial brokers. I won't say who they are. They were terrible. Right. Okay. One, they showed up to the meeting late.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. It's just flat out disrespectful. We get on the call, they're qualifying my buyer. Well, how many deals you got, where you done your deals, And he's like, listen, dude, tell me about your property. You're selling the property. Malcolm's telling me the Detroit market is red hot right now. Okay. He's my finance guy and I trust him, but I need you to tell me about why I should buy this property. And they wanted to qualify him more than tell him about the property, and so he goes through what he's looking to do. And then we said, okay, this is how we're going to finance it. They were like, wait a minute. Why are you doing it that way? Why don't you do it like everyone else does it? And my investor like blew a stack, right? He was like, listen, this is my money. You don't tell me how to buy property. You sell the property. You
That's
get
right.
commission for pushing the paper, dude.
Yeah.
You know, frankly, me and the seller could be in the same room and work this thing out without you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. What options I bring to the table that you don't know about, that's none of your business. As long as the check clears at the closing table, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right. Right.
My guy was already pissed off. Actually, to be honest, he was pissed off that they were late.
Yeah.
And it just, you know,
Yeah. That didn't go from there.
It set him off at the very beginning of the call. It just didn't work out well.
Yeah.
But knowing your options and having someone like me, him and I worked it out at the beginning. If you like it, here's our options as to how we're going to fund it. He's like, oh, that makes sense. That's brilliant. Let's go. And then they couldn't do it. And it's sort of, and it was, I'll say this, Doug, it was a lesson for me. Keep the main thing, right? Their job was to sell the property.
Right.
Sell that. This is why it's the best flagship property you want to get. It's in a great market. Da, da, da. They didn't talk about the market that it was in. I'm like, oh my God, this is like real estate malpractice. He's in Georgia.
Right.
Buying in Michigan. You're in Michigan. Sell Michigan, dude. Sell Detroit.
Come on. That's right. I mean, it's good enough for Dan Gilbert. Come on, guys.
Right. There's 3 major hospitals within a half a mile of this place. All those residents are paying huge rent. You're getting $3,000 a month for this little itty bitty apartment. Sell that. Yeah. But I think that if your listeners take this opportunity to put themselves in the mindset of a banker, because one of the things we go through the book is what's the underwriting process? Why they think the way they do? Why do they look at deals the way they look at them? Why do they disapprove deals? And why do they approve others? Right? And so I'll give you an example for free. The number one secret you need to get a deal approved is a narrative. This is America. Everything in America has to be sold, right? You don't get water for free. Right? You need to sell your deal. Don't just say, I need $15 million and I'm willing to put X dollars down and I'm trying to get this interest rate. What can you do?
Yeah.
No, if you really want your deal approved, sell the vision you have for the property. You're going to do something with it, we assume, right? So you're buying it here. When you get done, right, you have a pro forma. Sell the pro forma. What's the narrative? And if you got a very competent commercial loan broker, or or commercial loan officer like myself, right, we'll work with you and build out that narrative. Okay, because when an underwriter gets your deal, they're not looking to approve it, ever. They're looking to deny it. By training, they are adverse to risk. They're trying to burn it, shoot it, drown it, light it on fire, right? And after all those scenarios, if your deal is like The Walking Dead and it still lives, okay, maybe now we'll go ahead and take the risk. He's more concerned of if something goes wrong, and now my name is next to a deal that's in foreclosure on our deposition list. And everyone has a standard that if they get too many deals on that list, that underwriter's done. So his job is not to approve your deal. His job is to protect the bank.
Yeah.
To protect our investors. Right? So sometimes a client will say to me, well, Malcolm, why are they asking me to do this? And, we ordered an appraisal and now they're doing another appraisal as a desktop version to double check that one. That doesn't make any sense. Why you gotta do that? Here's why. Because they had 3-4 deals go bad in that area, and they're thinking about doing your deal, but they just need to double check. Okay. So make them comfortable. They're more concerned about losing money and the return of their capital than the return on it. And if you can do a narrative where you counteract, because if you know your dog has fleas, you know he's mangy, you know his nails is not cut.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
He's mangy, he's got fleas, he's got this. Now here's how we're going to fix that. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And when we're done, he's going to Westminster.
That's right.
And he's winning the whole thing. Wow, really? Okay. Yeah. Makes sense, right? And if you got collateral that you're asking me to invest in, because understand, I'm your biggest business partner.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? 70% of 75% of the money or more is my money.
Yeah.
Right? I got more in the deal than you do.
Yes.
Right? And if you can convince me that my collateral is going to increase substantially in value, and I got nothing to worry about, even if worst case scenario comes in, okay. I'm good.
Good stuff. Well, Malcolm, thank you so much for dropping knowledge. Financing the
Unbankable Deal.
Unbankabledeal.com.
That's
and also going to have contact information to take those limited. He doesn't have all day, folks. He's got a lot of deals going, a lot going on. He will take you up on this opportunity. Take him up on it, folks. I promise. He'll drop some knowledge on you and shift your mindset. And that's one thing, the number one thing that I think Malcolm offers. Malcolm, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us today.
Absolutely. And our book, by the way, can be found on Amazon.
Sweet. Absolutely. We also put that in the link also.
Yes. In that free consultation, you can schedule it right from the website.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you, Malcolm.